Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I'm so excited for today's guest, Miss Nicole Jansen. Her and I met, and I've been impressed with her ever since we met because she really is an expert at helping people scale their online business. She knows what you need to go in with, and I'm so excited to have her on the show. Nicole, welcome to the show today.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, Nicole, do you mind telling the listeners today what is it that you do? What's your specialty?
Yeah, you know what? My specialty is working with entrepreneur leaders to be able to help them grow their business, be able to transform the way they see themselves, the way they see others, the way they see the world around them so they can actually maximize on the potential that is actually available to them.
So when I like the way that you said that. Can you expound a little bit more? A lot of times when we talk about scaling your online business, we talk about strategies and the systems and all these things that go into it. But I noticed in your introduction there that you're actually talking about how they view themselves in this whole world. Would you consider that to be one of the most important things in order to scale your online business?
I think it's really important because mindset is everything. I mean, when we think about strategy, I mean, I've had so many, I've worked with thousands of clients and they come to me and they say, I want to grow my business, want to increase my sales, my profitability, leverage my team more, fix my team, whatever it is. Right. And really at the end of the day, it comes down to their mindset. It comes down to how they are approaching those strategies. So I can give them strategy all day long. I can teach them how to do what they need to do all day long. And I'm sure you have done that with people as well. And you're like, this is brilliant. Here you go. Right. Do that. And then they don't. Right. Or they do it and they are not effective in it. And it all comes down to their mindset. It comes down to who they see themselves, because ultimately the lens through which we see others and the world around us is the lens through which we see ourselves.
Yeah, and I teach the same thing. It's like whatever you're seeing is happening in your business, you're the one that's putting it out first. The person in the mirror has to smile first in order for that thing to reflect back on you. Now, for me, I've seen the biggest proof of that really in like sales calls. You show up on a sales call, you don't believe in your own value. That person on the other end of the phone, regardless of what script or what you're saying, like they will not trust your value. Do you like is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And actually, a perfect example is I recently was talking to somebody, and as I was listening to her, and she was like, I'm not able to close these deals. There's just, it's like they like me and they go to my website and they're like, I'm amazing and all this, but there's a disconnect. Why are they not pulling the trigger? Why are they not moving forward with me? Or why are they picking someone else or whatever? Right? Is it price? It could be price, but that means you might be talking to the wrong people, right? That's why it's
Yes.
an issue there. But really, when I was listening to her, I said, wait a second, so let me ask you a question. What are you selling? What are you really selling? Because what I'm hearing is that you're selling you. And why do you feel like you need to sell you? Right? What is the belief that's underlying it? Beliefs drive behavior, right? Our language, it comes out through our language. Are you trying to sell you? Are you trying to, direct them to your website because you're so impressive? Well, they may buy you, but that doesn't mean they're actually going to buy your program, right? So,
Yes.
yes, you need credibility. I always talk about three things. There's visibility, credibility, and consistency, right? You need visibility. You need people, like, you need to be in front of people. People need to be able to see you and know you and like and trust you. There is that, right? That's why they hire somebody like you, right? So, visibility, there's credibility, right? Yes, you need to be credible and you need to have consistency. Now, then you put that to bed and then you focus on, right? The value proposition, what you have to offer. And it's really because they want to focus on, I mean, that's why they're there, right? They want to focus on their issues, their challenges, their goals, what's important to them. But if we have these stories running, right? In our own stories about ourselves, if I feel like, does she like me? Do I sound intelligent? Is my hair okay? Like all of these things, I'm focusing on me. I remember one of my mentors, and this applies to public speaking, sales is it's all about sales, right? So I
Mhm.
remember one of my mentors, and he said to me, I'm on stage and we're going through training and so forth. And he says, Nicole, it's not about you. And I'm like, I know it's not about me. And he says, no, you're making it about you. And I said, how am I making it about me? focusing on the audience and all the things and so forth. And he says, "You are still concerned. I can tell you are still worried about how you look." Man, and so how does this apply to scaling our business, right? Well, if I have this small view of myself, if I see myself, and small can be relative, right? I see myself in a certain way. I have a certain financial blueprint. I have a certain level of a worthiness that I have within myself. My business is not going to expand beyond that. It's not going to happen, right? I'm going to sabotage myself. And I've so many times I've seen this happen where business owners who are amazing, I know they're amazing, right? They have credibility, they have visibility, they have the consistency, but they sabotage themselves because of what's going on in here, right? And it comes through their language, it comes through their behaviors, it comes through their marketing and all of those things. So that's where when I say you got to start there, I talk about this results model. Results come from behaviors and actions. You got to do something to be able to get a result. But before, when you think about even below that, what impacts, and this is what we're talking about here, what impacts your beliefs, your behaviors and actions is your mindset. How do you change your mindset? Well, some of your mindset is made up of your personality and your strengths, and I talk a lot about that, and being able to play to your strengths, maximize your potential by putting yourself in a sweet spot where you're doing what you love, what you're great at, and what you can make money at. But that sweet spot. But then it's also about these beliefs. And that's why I'm talking about, like, beliefs about yourself, beliefs about others, beliefs about the world around you. This is your container. And if you have a plant and you're growing that, you want to grow that plant, you have to increase the size of the planter for that plant to grow. It won't grow. I have this little plant on my desk here, right? That plant has been the same size for months. Why? Because the plant is only going to grow to the size of the pot. If I want to grow this plant more, I have to put it in a bigger pot. And that's the same thing with us. So our vision, our dreams, aspirations can be really big, but if our container is small, there's going to be a disconnect, and our results will never exceed that self-concept, or that concept of what we believe about ourselves, others, and the world around us.
I love it. And I couldn't agree more. In fact, and tell me if you like your take on this, which is why people go and they try to implement a lot of strategies and they take a lot of courses and they hire a lot of consultants, and like they just none of it works, even though the consultants are like, no, seriously, this is what you need to go and try. And it's because literally they don't believe, they have all these beliefs that are holding them back. And that's why strategies don't work without a nice mix of strategies and self-belief and growing outside of your planter, basically.
Yes. Yes. I had a franchisor one time. I was cold calling. I had met him at a franchise show or whatever. Anyway, so I reach out to him and I said, "Hey, we were talking about doing some training for his I was offering some training for his franchisees." And he says to me, he says, "I have all these people calling me," back in the day when people actually made phone calls and talked to people on the phone. And he said, "I've had all these people, like, 5 a week, right? All these trainers calling me and offering me their services. If my franchisees would only do what they're supposed to do, everything would be fine." And I was like, "Thank you." Which you just gave me a gift, right? So I'm like, "Would you like to know why that is?" And he goes, "Yes, I'd like to know why that is." And so then I started talking to him about mindset and all that. And so, anyways, of course, he hired me and we ended up working with all his franchisees. The problem in that case was a lot of his franchisees, he was selling franchises to people that honestly shouldn't have been they weren't the right buyers. He was selling it to them because the they had the money to buy it, but they didn't have the mindset, they didn't have the vision, the commitment to that franchise system. So he was selling franchises to people that actually wanted to go and do their own thing,
So how
right?
did that tie into what his belief of himself was or about the business?
Well, it's funny because his belief was, he said to me, "I make money by selling franchises." And I
Okay.
said, "That's interesting because I know a lot about franchises. I own them. I've worked on the back end of them and working with franchisors." And I said to him, I said, "Interesting. So your money comes primarily from selling franchises. How are your current franchises doing right now?" Well, some of them are doing good, some of them are doing not doing good, but that's I don't make money from royalties. And I said, well, then there's there's a disconnect there because as a franchisor, your revenue ought to come from royalties, right? You make sure these franchisees are successful and thriving. You won't have any problem selling more franchises. But if they're not doing well and all you're doing is trying to fill it's like a leaky sieve, right? You're trying to
Yes.
fill more franchises, more franchises, more franchises and they're not successful, you are it's eventually you're going to wear yourself out. It's just not going to work. You can't scale. So we're talking about scaling. You can't scale that way. You've got to make sure that you have a strong foundation on which to scale your success.
And so, well, can you long story short that real quickly? What did you fix?
So 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 we went through, talked to his franchisees, identified, I interviewed them and said, "Look, like what are your goals?" Again, it comes back to what's in it for them, right? And because they owned a franchise, it was connecting their goals and desires and dreams to the franchise system and saying, "Look, in order for you to get what you want, it would behoove you to follow the system, right? That is set out. That's what you paid for. And once you master the system, then
Yes.
you can get creative and offer input as to how to improve the system." So I connected the system and the value of the system to their goals and desires. Now, there were a couple of franchises that, you know what, it's just not a really good fit. And so then they need to look at selling their franchise, which that's what we did. And one of them actually, he actually took back the franchise because they're just not a right fit. And they're actually toxic to the organization. Right. So, but the owner, the franchisor, the founder, he needed to shift his mindset and to recognize that his focus was to focus his investment was to invest in his franchisees, build a
Yes.
really so I changed his mindset about that, and also his mindset about himself because he thought, "I'm a sales guy," right? Like, "This is what I do. I go out and sell
Yes.
franchises," and I'm like, "Great, yeah, so that's you're gonna have to keep doing that. Basically have a job, right? You sell them, and you gotta sell another one, you gotta sell another one, you know, so where's your freedom in that? Where's your sustainable legacy? Where is all" so shifting his mindset around what he wanted to create and how to attach that to the things. So that's where we talk about even strategy, right? It's like understanding what does this have to do with where I'm going, what I wanna create, and how will this help me do it?
It's really just setting that intent up front. And then when you have a good, clear intent, then as you do those actions and implement the system, then you'll actually get the outcome that you're looking for. Where a lot of business owners are just like frantically, like just trying to make something work and please bring me some money in this bank account. And like it, that will only work for a short period of time.
And
It's
there's a
not sustainable.
mindset underneath there of desperation, right?
Yes,
It's subtle. It's really subtle,
very
and
subtle.
you can be successful and still have a mindset of desperation of, like, trying to be grabby and trying to get, right? Nobody wants to be gotten. Like, that's why I say it's like nobody wants to be gotten, right? They want to be they want to be, valued, they want to be understood, they want to be, sure, as women, you know, like maybe in the dating scene or whatever, we want to be desired, right? In what is business, right? It's like that dating. Yeah, I want to be valued, I want to be appreciated. But but when there's like that desperation, it's like the clingy guy. So,
Yeah, it
you know,
just won't
that's like
work.
that's a turn off right off the bat, right? So, but in business, a lot of times people put that energy out there. High, if you have a high need, right? And you have a mindset of, I need this person or I need this sale, then you have low power, right? High need, low power. And it just throws off the energy. And even if people don't consciously know what it is that's off, but they feel it and there's a disconnect there. Versus when you walk in and you say, like, I low need, hey, I'd love to work together, or I'd love to sell your franchise. We're talking about franchising for whatever reason, but somebody needs to hear it out there. Is like, hey, I want to sell this franchise, or I'd love to have you part of the team. I remember another mentor of mine, he said, and it was actually a franchise, and he said, look, Nicole, we'd love to have you part of the team. You're amazing, blah, blah, blah. We've already done all the assessments on you. We know that's a good fit. He said, but we have a code of honor, and this is the way we operate. And if you are committed to and are willing to commit to that code of honor, we'd love to have you part of the team. And if not, that's totally fine. Maybe this is just not the team for you." And
Yep.
he took it away. And
Yes.
in doing that, I had respect for him. I had respect for the opportunity. And then I had a choice, right? What am I going to do with this? Do I adhere to that? So does he benefit from selling a franchise to me? Absolutely. But he put the mission first. He put he put his priorities in the right order, and I bought a franchise from him at that
You
point. And
did.
then
You
yeah,
did.
yeah, absolutely. And then we end up working together for a number of years. So he's
I
awesome.
love that. Yeah, I always teach it with, it was the whole MTV's The Pickup Artist show, if you've ever seen that. And that's how the whole guy
Mm.
made his show was like, hey, you play hard to get and the women will want you. It's no different in sales, it's no different in business. Obviously, you want to remain authentic, but there is always two sides of that coin. Someone has to be the negative and the pursuer, and someone has to be the pursuee. And so, like, you get to pick as a business owner or someone on your sales call which side of that coin you're actually going to be on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so when it goes to mindset, I'm dying to know about this from your perspective. When it comes to mindset and when it comes to like being in a bigger container and viewing yourself in a bigger way, I noticed that a lot of, especially transformational leaders and people who are thought leaders, they'll tell you just right off the cuff. And I'm curious if this is your experience. I don't have any confidence problems. I am confident in what I offer and I want to be the biggest person in the world and I am ready for this. But then there's like a big difference for these guys between confidence, which is like an external representation of what they think of themselves, and like their true like self-value and like really what they feel like they can bring to people. And that piece can be really hard to get from people, especially thought leaders that are, hey, I'm the most confident person. I don't have any mindset problems. Do you experience that at all, Nicole?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes.
And what do you
In fact,
do?
yeah. Well, so I asked some interesting questions and uh and challenge that in a respectful way. I respect success. I honor people that have created a lot of success in their business. And so, I'm not one of those people that says, "Oh my gosh, you're doing that wrong or this wrong or whatever." I'm like, "Fantastic." Right? That's great. So, what do you want to do? Is that all you want to do, or is there something more you want to do? But so let's say they say, "I am so confident." And I know a lot of times, by the way, smart people have the right answers. They've done their personal development.
Yes.
They know the right answer to the question, right? It's like, "Are you confident?" Absolutely, I'm confident. It's almost like they know the affirmations, right? They know what they're supposed to say, but do they believe it? And when you
Right.
listen and you ask questions and you start to realize that there's a disconnect between what they're saying and what they're doing or what their language is, ultimately. So like for example, I had one guy, also another franchisor, and I don't know what's with the deal with franchises. I
Our
work with people
franchisee
other
episode.
I work with other people that know franchises, but anyway, he owned a franchise and I had launched this franchise system, and he came through a friend of mine and a mutual friend, and he was on the call. So he's kind of like, "Why do I need a coach? I don't know why I need you guys. Why he, connected us and so forth." And he's telling me how awesome he is, right? He's like, "I'm this and
That's
I'm
the
that."
guy I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm the biggest, I am the most successful in my town and da 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 and so forth. I'm like, "That's fantastic. That is great. Congratulations. So who do you look up to?"
Oh,
And he goes, "Oh, that's a good question." And so anyway, we started talking and he talked more about what he was doing in his business and so forth. And I said, "So you've created a lot of success. You started your business, you took a lot of risks, and now you're at a point where you have this successful franchise and you want to grow it and all this kind of stuff." But as I was listening to him, I was hearing something, right? I was listening to the consistency of it, right? And I said to him, I said, "Out of curiosity, are you playing to win or are you playing not to lose?" And he's
oh,
like, I won't say what he said, but he was like swearing, and he was just like, "Oh my gosh, you are so right. I've been playing not to lose." And I said, "Well, you can't win a game playing not to lose. You can't win a game on defense. So what is it going to take for you to get on the offense? What is it gonna take? And then as we started to work together, so he did hire me. So we started to work together, and then I said to him, I said, I don't know, we were talking about numbers and revenue goals and even personal financial goals and so forth. And I said, "Wait a second. So I see you as I just assumed that he was making like over $1,000,000 a year. He sounded like, dude, you're making $1,000,000
One of
bucks a
those
year."
guys. Yeah.
And I said, "Well, so, you're what are you making, like, 1,000,000 bucks a year, something like that? Like, what's your" and he's like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, like, that's what I assumed, right?" And he's like, "You think I can make $1,000,000 a year? Like,
Ooh, you
personal
totally
income?"
hit it.
And so I said, "Yeah, I totally. I already thought you had, right? I thought you were doing that." And he was like, "Wow." So it's expanding them, but doing it with respect, expanding them, to start to think beyond. I had another gentleman once who said to me, and again, all relative, right? In terms of, so he had been making about like 200,000, something like that. And so he thought 200,000, big deal, at that time. This is years ago or 10 years ago, whatever it is. Um, and he's like, small town, I'm the guy, right? A lot of cash flow, a lot of big hat, right? So, although he wasn't in Texas, but it's that kind of idea, right? So he was like, "Man, I'm the guy, I'm the dude." Anyways, he went on to ultimately sell his franchise and became, a speaker and other coach and so forth. And so it was really cool and leveled himself up totally. But there's another one who came to me and another referral. I was doing a workshop and this guy had recommended him to come to the workshop and he couldn't understand. He was a real estate investor and he couldn't understand why he should be at this workshop. And so he's telling me, he's like, "I make X amount of money and blah, 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 and so forth." And I'm like, "That's fantastic. So how many other people are you helping to do that?" And he goes, "I never thought of that." And so it's just a question that
Wow.
takes them because we all have a comfort zone. We all have like that familiar comfort zone, right? And in order for us to continue to grow, we need to go beyond that comfort zone. So I'm just listening to her. What's their container? What's the size of their container? And then and not questioning them and saying, "Oh, I don't believe you," but just challenging and saying like, "What about out here? What about out?" Because I see that you're
Like,
capable
I
of that.
could see that for you. Yeah, can you
Totally.
see it for yourself? Like, that
Can you see it?
$1,000,000, my guess is he went on to make $1,000,000 easily
Yeah. Yeah.
because he
You know,
realized, if Nicole thinks I can do it, of course that's available for me. If she thinks it's like a no problem for me, then why
and
not?
it became the basis for our coaching to expand his belief about himself so that that would be possible.
Even the people who are overly confident when you ask them, huh?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that smart people, right? We know the right answers, and
It's
we
so
need
true.
coaches to be able to challenge us in a respectful way, right? To challenge our beliefs. Do you really believe that to be true, or is that all? I think of George Foreman. I once heard him speak live, and he was awesome. He talked about being in the ring, Muhammad Ali, and he's going for it, right? And Muhammad Ali turns to him and says, and basically responds to him and says, he says, "Is that all you got?" And George is like, "What? I just gave him everything I have, And he's like, "Is that all you got, George?" Right? And sometimes it's like you got to challenge people to say, "Is that is that it? That's fantastic. You've been so successful. What is that as far as you can go?" And when you start opening them up, now then they can be honest about, "Well, you know what? Actually, I don't even believe this." Do you know what I mean? Like, so you
Yeah.
can have that conversation, but it's a safe place because I'm doing it from a place of I'm believing the best for you. I'm believing in you even more than you're believing in yourself. And then it creates that safe place because most of the reason why we're overly confident, or trying to prove that we're confident and put that forward is because deep down inside we're insecure. I
Yes.
don't want anybody to know that I'm not confident in myself, and so I'm gonna do everything I can, and I don't wanna hear it because 'cause I'm, like, trying to outrun the insecure. I'm try to outrun the lie that I've been afraid of my whole life, which is that I'm not enough.
And that's what we all deal with, right? Like that's just the human condition.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we all believe it some way. It sounds different. Some people, it's I'm insignificant enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not attractive enough, or whatever. I'm not tall enough. I'm not,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But we have this not enough conversation going on, and so that's a belief that I have, I guess, but or an assumption that I have, but really an understanding that we all have that we've dealt unless we have really dealt with it. But even if we've really dealt with it, we still have it. We're just aware of it. And now we can protect ourselves from it. You know what I mean? In a sense of not letting it uh sabotage us. We're still aware
Yeah.
of it.
And that's the real like definition of like imposter syndrome is when you're actually willing to admit that crops its head that you aren't good enough or you haven't provided enough value. And so now you have imposter syndrome that so frequently haunts many online entrepreneur.
Yeah. It's like saying, yes, I am all of this, and I'm not this, right? Like this is everything that I am. This is everything that I'm not. I am who I am. And the most successful people and the ones that continue to grow are honest. The leaders. I mean, I have a podcast. I've interviewed over 470 other people on successful leaders from around the world on the show. Most of the most successful ones are humble, and they know that they've got stuff to deal with. It's the ones that say, I got this. I mean, I was that person. I was like, "I got this," and God's like, "Let me tell you what you got. You got shit." Okay, you don't know you got a surprise around the corner and you don't even know it, right? And so I was humbled. It's the pride before the fall, right? So we are prideful because we're trying to protect ourselves. We're trying to convince ourselves. But when we're honest and saying, "Hey, you know what? I don't have it all figured out, right? I'm not perfect, right? I've got these things that I'm dealing with. But now when I bring them to the surface, we're afraid to bring them to the surface because what could that mean? What could that mean about me? What I don't know what to do with that. But if I bring it to the surface, now I can do something with it. Otherwise, it just sabotages me and comes out at inopportune moments. Right. When I've got that big deal and all of a sudden now I've got the sweats and I'm freaking out. Why is that? Well, because I didn't deal with it before, right? And everybody has a like I said, everybody's got a comfort zone that they get to and they're like, "I got this. I'm comfortable and I feel good." And I've had people even say to me, "Oh, I've dealt with my little voice." And it's like, "Really?" To see what that thing
Right.
shows up. At some point it's going to show up, right? And let's do it in a safe environment with a coach where we can work through it versus it being when you're getting an opportunity to go and speak on a stage or go do something where you're going to have the biggest deal of your life where it doesn't show up then. I mean, I'll share you one quick story. There was a woman I'm from Toronto and originally and she was in Toronto and she wanted to start this business, this gift shopping for other people, this for holidays and stuff like that business.
Okay.
And and she has a great idea, great concept, was very early pioneering that concept. And she was working really hard. And then she had Toronto Magazine, like this major magazine in Toronto that was going to do a feature article on her. And I met her at an event, whatever, and she's like, "I got a problem." And I said, "What's that?" She's like, "They want to do this article on me." And this is like October, just before Christmas.
Huge.
This is a big deal, right? And they're gonna do it for free, right? She's not having to pay for it.
Wow.
They're gonna do this big feature story on her because whatever, however she got, on their radar. And she said, "I have a problem." And I said, "She's gonna do this thing." And I said, "That's fantastic." And she said, "No, it's not." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she says, "What if all these people start calling me and I won't be able to handle the business and da 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 da." And I was like, "Oh, wait a second here. Let's talk about this," right? Like, think about her mindset. And so
Yeah.
she wasn't a client of mine. She wasn't ready. She just started to go inward. Unfortunately, she passed on that opportunity that could have I was like, "Look, you get 800 back then. You can get an
Changed
800
everything.
number. I'm sure you got some friends that can do it like for the next few months. It'll explode your business." I mean, like they were going to do this whole feature and allow her to promote her service, right? And drive traffic. So specifically, and so I'm like, "Man." But yeah, I followed up with her afterwards. I was like, how'd it go?" And she said, "Oh, I passed on it. I wasn't ready."
probably made perfect sense to her, but from somebody who, like, you wanna build your business, that's the perfect way to do it, but for her, because of her beliefs, it just made perfect sense for
Yeah.
her because of the
Yes.
pot she was sitting in. I love
That's
that.
right. Yeah.
Okay, so Nicole, is there any way now you've made a big case for coaching and why coaching is so invaluable for times like these, a highly, an expert coach like yourself. Can we do this on our own? Do you have any tips on like how do I get out of my own pot or do I need actually that external reflection, someone with a higher level of experience than me to share with me what is possible?
I think the answer is yes and yes. I think first of
Okay,
all, if you're counting on somebody else to do it all for you,
really
then
can't.
that doesn't happen. Okay, we're coaches, or I know for myself, like when I coach people, it's like, look, I can coach you. Ultimately, though, you're the one who's going to need to do it. You're going to
Yes.
sit and have those hard conversations, and we can have some of those hard conversations, but you got to live it, right? You got to be the one to challenge yourself. You got to be willing. You got to be willing to look and face the reality of what you believe to be true. So, coaches hugely valuable because coaches can help you see your blind spot and see what you can't see, right? I can't see behind here, right? And I'm pointing to look back in my head for those who are listening, right? It's like I can't see what's behind me, right? So, coaches hugely valuable for doing that and to accelerate your growth. And what you can do is on your own is you can challenge yourself in saying, what do I believe to be true about myself? Write down all the beliefs. You say, okay, I believe I believe that I'm smart. I believe that I have the ability to do this. I believe, I don't know, start with whatever. I believe that I believe I'm a woman. I don't know, whatever, right? I
Just
believe that
start. Yeah.
start somewhere, right? I believe that I'm intelligent. I believe that I'm capable of doing this, whatever it is, just start somewhere with your beliefs, right? I believe that I can learn things. I believe that I'm good at XYZ. I believe I'm really good at this. I believe that I'm really bad at that, right? I can't do this, right? All these things. I can and I can't and I am and I'm not. All those beliefs, you write them all down, get this whole nice long laundry list. And then you look at those and you say, okay, are these helping me get to my goal? So, assuming you have a goal. If you don't, you need to set, like, where am I going with this, right? Are these in alignment and are helping me achieve this goal, or are these hindering me? Right.
Yeah, do
So the
they serve
ones
me or not?
they serve
Yes.
me or not. So the goal, or the belief of, let's say, I can figure this out, right? I can learn. I'm a problem solver. I believe that I'm a good problem solver. Great. Does that help me? Yes, it does. Beautiful. Okay, so we leave that one, right? This one, I can't sell. Okay, well, that's not going to get you to where you want to go, right? So
Right.
we need to challenge that. What would be an empowering? How can we flip that to the opposite positive and say, okay, so I can't, I believe I can't sell. Well, what if you were to, number one, that's, there's some skills around that, which maybe you need to learn, but even just starting to say, I'm a great salesperson. You know what? The market, right? The market, oh my gosh, right now the market's so bad, the inflation, blah, blah, blah. I believe that the market is like this, right? It's hard to find clients now. I
Yeah,
believe that's
nobody's
hard to
buying
find.
right now.
Nobody's buying
Mhm.
right now. That's one, right? So you say, okay, what can you change that to? The opposite positive. You know what? I'm so happy and grateful that I attract amazing new clients to my business every single day. You know what? I attract, even just maybe just happy and grateful, because that kind of goes into a gratitude exercise. You can just say, I attract amazing, ideal clients to my business every day. Man, it's awesome. I love what I do. I hate what I do. I love what I do. Man, I'm not doing what I love to do. I believe that I'm not doing, or I'm not in the right field. Okay. Well, you know what? I am figuring out the right field I am getting clear,
I'm
right?
getting
Even if
closer
it's
and closer.
I'm getting
Yes.
closer and closer to it. So it's like you're taking this list, you're identifying the limiting beliefs, and you're transforming them into positive beliefs. Now, just by saying it isn't going to be enough, right? Entirely. First of all, you got to start saying it. You got to start believing it. You say it enough times, you're going to start to believe it. You're going to start to, your mind will start to reticular activating system will start to go and attract things that will be in alignment with that, because your mind is a problem solver. So whatever you tell it doesn't know the difference between what's real or imagined. So whatever you tell it, I can't, it goes, okay, let me give you all the valid reasons why you can't. And if you change that and start saying, hey, you know what, I can, it's going to start over time, and you repetition, it's going to start saying, okay, well, how, here are some valid reasons why I can. Here are some memories around. So when's the last time, I can't sell? Well, is that really true? You can challenge yourself and say, is that really true? Well, yeah, it's really true. Okay, well, have I ever sold something before? Well, yes, I have. Okay, well, how did that go? Okay, wait a second. So then I guess I can sell, right? Maybe I just need to get better at selling. So you know what? I'm getting better at selling every single day. I am learning the skills that I need, right? It's kind of like an interim one. I'm learning the skills that I need to be able to sell more effectively. I'm learning how to do this every single day. I'm getting better and better every single day, right? So you're not delusional because your mind says, liar, you're not good at that. Well, I'm learning the skills to be able to do that. So there's just some, but yeah, starting to transform those beliefs about yourself, others, and the world around you. The reason why I broke it down into those three things is because when we talk about beliefs, it can be so general. Right?
Yes.
So whereas now we start thinking about what do I believe to be true about myself? What do I believe to be true about others? What do I believe to be true about my customers? My customers always want a discount. My customers always want a discount. Okay. Well, is that your belief or is that reality? Right? Because the reality is maybe you're putting that out there.
Yeah,
And
you're
if you
probably saying it
assume
first because you think
you're
everybody wants a discount.
because
Yes.
that's right. You're offering it before they're even asking for it. Or maybe they're asking for it. If you here's a little tip for people out there talking about sales. But if you keep getting an objection, it keeps coming up, price objection, time objection, and then interest objection. There's only three types of objections, right? Time, money, interest. If you keep getting that objection, I would challenge you to ask yourself, where are you having that objection within yourself? Because
Agreed.
once you deal with it, you will be amazed. You won't get it from anybody else. It's done. So if you're getting the discount, either offering it, there's something psychologically you have an issue with the price. Maybe you turn it around saying, what would I feel comfortable buying for myself? I mean, when I was starting out and in business, I was in my teens. I was trying to sell fax machines. I was 16, 17 years old. I'm going door to door literally and selling fax machines in industrial areas. And then I started making cold calls, and I made thousands of cold calls. And I would ask myself, like, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this working? Da, 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 and so forth. I'm just no, 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 no all the time. And I started asking myself different questions. So the quality of our questions determines the quality of our life. And so I started asking myself different questions and saying,
I
hey,
really like what you just said. I'm gonna can you just repeat that though for
the
everybody? The
quality of your
quality of your
questions
question.
determines the quality of your life.
And that's
Right?
across health, wealth, and relationships, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when I started asking myself different questions like, okay, what did I learn? Where did I do well? What did I where do I need to improve upon? What am I learning about myself? What am I learning about them? How can I do this better? How can I leverage what worked well and correct what worked wrong? When I started asking myself different questions, I got different answers because my subconscious mind, being the problem solver, started to go to work to give me the answer to that question because questions hook the mind, right? And so it changed everything. It changed everything for me. Whereas I initially had this experience of how people were showing up, I realized that it was because I was bringing that to the table. Why am I doing this wrong? Well,
Yes.
because you're an idiot, because you're young, because nobody cares about what you have to da 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 and so forth. And that takes me down a path to failure, right? Versus a path to success. So anyway, I can go on,
Guys,
as you can
there
tell.
is
So
your Rewiring Your Beliefs 101 by Nicole Jansen right here on the Millionaire Maker Show. That was awesome. And when she talks about literally taking the time to sit down and write this down and have these hard conversations, like there's usually a lot of resistance there. I don't have time to do that. I don't want it. Like that sounds hard. And yeah, it sounds hard, but the payoff the payoff is exponential. So take her advice and write this stuff down and spend some time with yourself asking better questions to yourself. Thanks, Nicole. That was really powerful. You gave us all your info today. Thank you so much. Now, before I let you go, I've taken a lot of your time today, but before I let you go, I'm going to turn the time back over to you. Can you tell everybody where to get to know you, where to find you, or if you have anything that you want them to know?
Yeah, I mean, they can find me at theleadersoftrandsformation.com. And that's also my podcast. So I have the Leaders of Transformation podcast that's all over all the different listening platforms and so forth. And one thing I would say that I would want them to know is that you are capable of more than you think you are. You are capable
Wow.
of more than you think you are.
I love that. Thank you, Nicole. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.